Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 393. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Mark Augustiniak,
What's up?
Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Mark in orange this week. You ready for Halloween, my friend?
Every day. I have
We're getting there.
I've been keeping a playlist on my Apple Music.
Yes.
I call it Ghoul Friend, and the thumbnail is the Hex Girls from Scooby-Doo. Yeah.
Are we overdue for a Hex Girls live action CW show?
Hey, I think that Velma show might make something happen.
Oh yeah, I didn't think about that. They are doing that, aren't they?
Mm-hmm. It's a good chance.
Have they done another Josie and the Pussycats thing since that Rachel Lee Cook movie?
Mm,
Getting a hard
I
shake
think
there from
yeah, live action wise, no.
even cartoon. I don't know if they've shown up.
I don't know if they did like a odd crossover in Mystery Incorporated. I can't remember, but that's probably
That sounds familiar. Like they've done that before.
Yeah, I mean they totally crossed over before.
I started reading that Scooby-Doo Apocalypse comic book and didn't get. I could only read some comic books you can just kind of burn through.
I forgot about
a whole
that.
bunch, and that one I would read like an issue at a time and be like, all right, I'm gonna take a break. Matt kicking it in mint, which is the number one color of choice, number one ice cream of choice, as voted by me. How's Matt doing this week?
All right, we're talking about mint chocolate chip. You are correct.
I am, of course.
All right.
I gotta go, guys.
How could there be a better ice cream flavor?
I just
Name
don't,
that.
I don't know. Not toothpaste in my chocolate.
Oh, it's
Watch, give me some time with it. I'll be like, dudes, it's the best thing.
See?
Dude, we haven't had a good war on the podcast. It's been a long time. It's been a long time
ice cream war?
since the dawns of the soup wars.
Yeah.
We had the hentai wars briefly, but I think we were all on the same side of that war.
Yeah, but we had to go through it nonetheless.
Like, I think I can respect it, but it's not my number one choice.
I don't know what else I feel that way about, but yeah, I can respect that opinion, I suppose.
I don't know if I can. I'm still coming to terms with it. Ask me later.
I'll tell you the one here's the disappointing one: Rocky Road. Because you think it's going to taste like something good, and then you eat it, and it's got a weird sour. There's something sour about Rocky Road.
I don't think I've ever really had it that much.
Or not sour. What is it? It's the walnuts. It might not be walnuts. Someone's screaming, going, "They're chestnuts." I don't know what they are, but whatever nut is in a Rocky Road or something makes it taste bad. Therefore, I don't eat it.
That is fair.
Yeah, I do what I can. Xbox out there eating it this week with some new Game Pass announcements. We normally don't highlight, here's a list of games coming to Game Pass, but this list of games coming to Game Pass was pretty surprising and exciting. Undertale out on Game Pass, which, I mean, it's like a no-brainer, but it's also, I don't know, that game was like so synonymous with other things. It's good that we're seeing more stuff like that had such a big following come to something like Game Pass. And then Empire of Sin, I'm actually super stoked about. John Romero's game, which was originally talked about a lot on Switch. Didn't mean it wasn't coming to other things, but this is not only coming to Xbox, or maybe already be on Xbox, but it's Game Pass. So, and I think it's Game Pass all the way around. So I'm gonna jump into that at some point soon if I can. A lot of these other ones not entirely up my wheelhouse, or I think any of ours, like your Torchlight 3s, your Pillars of Eternity 2. Oh, Mark's got a hand up, so all right. Too soon.
For Torchlight 3, it's just another Diablo.
Is that okay? I couldn't remember. I always get confused. Is Pillars the Diablo one? Is Torchlight the Diablo one? Which one's the Diablo one?
Torchlight's like a Pixar Diablo.
Okay. But we do have Nier Automata coming to PC. If you haven't played that, good time to polish that one off. About a 20-hour party before Nier Replicant comes out in a couple weeks.
So the thing.
Yakuza 6.
Oh, did you hear about that Automata thing on Game Pass? So the Microsoft Store version runs that game better than Steam.
Interesting.
We'll have to try that.
I think the frame rate unlocks and better uprising to 4K, or it wasn't there before in the Steam version or whatever. But
interesting.
Nibble had tweeted a couple things about that. But yeah, the Game Pass or Microsoft Store version of that game runs better.
That's insane.
That's
good.
Sometimes.
That's, again, I think another win, especially when we talk about Xbox's long struggle with the Japanese gaming market. Speaking of, we're also seeing Octopath Traveler get added to Game Pass. Another one that was like, this one was synonymous with Switch until the PC port came, which was a surprise, and now to see it here is wild. Yakuza 6 to round out that trilogy, or not trilogy, but that whole series rather. Star Wars Squadrons finally hitting PC. I didn't write down which platform, but I know it's only coming to one. And then, honestly, the big hit, Outriders. And by big hit, I don't mean big hit, because I don't think Outriders is going to be a big hit. But I've been loosely intrigued by Outriders since its announcement last year. Or whenever, I don't remember what year it was announced now. But the fact that's a day one Game Pass game, it seems like perfect for Game Pass. Like, I think we're at the point where we often talk about Blockbuster and the ability to kind of wander in and just grab something and play it for a weekend and not feel like, yeah, well, you know what I mean? It's not a $60 commitment. It's I went and spent $5 at the Blockbuster and I got this thing. And Outriders feels like the Game Pass is starting to feel like that in some ways. You do get some gems, but there's also stuff like this where like I may not have otherwise tried it, but now that it's here, I might check it out. Anything on this list that jumps out to you guys that you're like going to play, already have downloaded, or looking forward to?
I'm going to play Squadrons finally, because I never had the opportunity to do that. So I will do that. I'm more excited about the next part of this, but we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. Mark?
I'm curious to try Nier, because, I mean, only before I've only had it on PS4. So
yeah,
I think 2021 mark is mostly PC based. So I think I would like to try that at its fullest.
I'm curious to see how it runs on there. If it's I want to know if it's a better experience. I started to replay it again on Xbox a couple months back, but I didn't finish that playthrough. Speaking of PC and 2021, EA Play is now available on PC Game Pass. I think originally slated for December, but just now launching March 18th. You still need to download the EA desktop app and sign into your EA account or create a new one if you haven't already, which I think, it's been so long, but I think that's what we had to do with EA Play on the Xbox. You had to have that, and you had to sign into an EA account, from what I remember. But I might be wrong.
I don't know if I was just signed into something already. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. But that's out now, so that whole, I think it's like over 60 games, all from EA, hitting that PC. Including, but not limited to, Need for Speed, which Matt spent a little bit of time with. Need for Speed Rivals?
Payback.
Sorry, there's too many...
I know, one-word things. Yeah, so Need for Speed Payback is the sequel to the highly rated Manu game. Joe's making faces.
I did not realize it was the direct sequel. Right, you told me this.
Well, I don't know if it's the sequel. I mean, it's the next game. I don't know. I don't know. Did Manu seem like he was heading to like a Vegas?
I don't know. He probably could have ended up in Vegas asking for money or something on the street, and like people would walk by him and spit.
So all right. Let me just talk about the driving. Driving's fine. It's like a good blend of arcadey It's a little weird. The last few racing games I've attempted to try to get myself into have all been simulation based, so it's very weird to go from having a direct racing line that you're kind of following, with like the recommended one on a track, trying to get your braking exact, maybe turning on or off some of those assist things, and then all of a sudden you hop into this where like if you just hit your handbrake, you automatically just start going in 90-degree turns. There's something kind of satisfying about going back to something a little bit more simpler. But no, I like the racing, or the driving. Like I said, I think it's fine. I don't think it's anything spectacular. Like I think there's only so much you can do with car controls. It's just a matter of how like arcadey or simulation based you want to go. And I do think like this is a potentially fun thing to go after. I completely forgot about the one of the main issues with this game about the controversy, I should say, was the car cards things that you use to upgrade. I did not get far enough in this game where the open world started to open up, where you had to start driving around to your different goals and or different like missions and stuff like that. I was just buying the cars and I just fell off it because I did not want an open world story based car racing game. But that is a thing, and I don't know if I like that.
Is it like card packs, and then in this one you might get an exhaust system, this one you might get new tires?
Yeah, I think in the story mode it's going to be straightforward, but that was, I think, an issue with the multiplayer stuff. You couldn't, the cards were required to get better car parts for your car in multiplayer, I'm assuming. I don't know, I could be completely wrong. Could be completely wrong. Just like last week when I said the Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain was the first part, and it was definitely Ground Zeroes.
Hey, I mean,
But yeah, the story is just so ridiculous in this game. In like 15 minutes, you meet your whole generic cast of characters. The old-timey mechanic, the hotshot driver, your token black guy who's an off-roader, drifter kind of guy, and then you got this woman who is she's like she's too fond of herself. I don't know, like she's not. And then right away, like you're thrown into this mission where you're gonna take this casino owner's like $40 million car or something. It was something that's like first hitting the street for the first time. So you take it, but of course you brought in the shady person to even get you to the car. Mm-hmm. They end up betraying you. They shoot the mechanic. The generic racer guy then takes the cops away from the scene so they can get the mechanic help. He runs into the car owner, the casino owner, and the owner gives him a choice of being his bitch, essentially, to get the car back at some point, or get arrested. He, of course, sides with the casino owner, and then you're driving valet. You betray the casino owner, but the casino owner doesn't like that you betrayed him, but then likes the potential of you racing. So then the plans pivot from what he was originally intended, and then you buy a car and you get the team back together, but you told the casino owner that the team will probably hate you, but you call them, and then they are right back being your team again. And the mechanic's just fine, so there's that.
Who writes these?
I don't know. This all happens like the first 20 minutes of the game. This isn't like an hour-long build.
I don't know, man. Like, I guess it's difficult to come up with a new idea for a racing story, but like, what if someone just wanted to drive a car? Like, they always make it so complicated, and they have to put in all these stereotypes. And
the part that kills me, and it is what it is. Like, it's not the greatest mechanic, but it's there. It could blossom into something. But like, it seems like there's three types of events, like at its core. I mean, there's different ways of like writing into it or whatever, but there is like almost like a outrun, like get to the checkpoint before the countdown hits 0 kind of thing. There is races, of course, against other cars, and then there's usually like bash the cars that are chasing you. And man, does it suck when you hit someone. Could you imagine it goes in slow motion, the car tumbles over and starts to destroy itself, and in those 5-second little clips, I'm like, man, we need a new Burnout game real bad.
Well, they got Codemasters now, right? And then I don't know. I feel like that Burnout Paradise thing did pretty well. They put it on everything.
Yeah, I would like to see, because I think this Ghost Interactive for some is the team behind the Need for Speeds. I think okay, maybe that's. I was gonna say, let someone please take another shot at Burnout, because like when I was having the most fun in those missions, and it wasn't the best mechanic. Like I feel like Burnout 3 did it way better than what they were doing, but like I was reminded about how good that is and satisfying seeing that little snippet of a car getting totaled in slow motion, and well, in this game they had health bars, but just like seeing the damage you're putting onto a car as you keep ramming it off the road and stuff. Yeah,
I'd have to track the lineage, but I think it was people who Criterion made Burnout. I think they ended up folks from there forming Ghost Games, getting forced into making Need for Speed stuff, and now I think Ghost is closed, or a lot of those people have been moved back into Criterion. They made a new. I don't know. It's been too long since I've paid close enough attention to that stuff, but
I feel like the I was gonna say one last thing is the locale. It's like a I don't think they call it Las Vegas, but it's definitely like Las Vegas inspired. But the thing is, I don't know, like a lot of it's not in the city. The city is quite small. The rest of it is just the desert around, which is that gets boring real quick. So I don't know, that maybe once the open world pops up and you start doing more things, that becomes a little bit more varied. But like I feel like you're not in the city too much, and I think they're missing out, at least early on in this game, the mystique almost of Vegas as a racing spot.
Yeah, they could have done some cool things with the Strip.
Like I said, I only played it for like 3 hours, so it could get there. I don't know, but yeah, you would think they would have you would like lead with that a little bit more.
Yeah, that franchise is in such a tough place, and I feel like we are, like a lot of other franchises, I think we're waiting on the independent answer for this. So I don't know that we've gotten there. Like, I think Fast Remix and all those, like, whatever games by, I forget the name of the developer, the Shinen, I can't remember, but they did the Fast Remix that was on Switch. I think before that it was like Fast Racing Neo, the indie answer to when Nintendo will make an F-Zero. I think we need the indie answer to, a good arcade racer. And I think we started, what was that one? Onrush? But even that had a different mechanic to it, so I don't know what I'm talking about.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, I want to, now that Wreckfest is on Game Pass, I want to try that out next, see if that's any good there.
Yeah.
And then I still want to try Heat. I just, maybe.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Why not? Mark made my week this week with a little news update via to close out our little Xbox segment that kind of naturally happened this week. Achievements are coming back to the Xbox app on mobile, which is great because I've missed it, and I didn't realize that I'd miss it until I was playing a bunch of games and getting a lot of achievements, and they're only popping up on my TV like it's 2007 or something. But that cadence of every device in my periphery, like my phone, my watch, my iPad, all going off with achievement. I need that celebration. But honestly, it's nice. Like, I feel like sometimes jumping through the options on iPad or mobile are much faster or easier or more convenient than tabbing through the guide itself, depending on the whatever. And especially if I'm like in the middle of a game, I think it's easier to pause the game and then do that on my phone really quickly and see like, what do I have to do for this? Or what's the next thing? So not having those after that new Xbox update has been I've missed it, but they're coming back. Along with new toggle settings for FPS boost and auto HDR for backwards compatible games. This will be on the next gen machines only, but we talked about this a few weeks ago, this little piece coming. I'm excited about that. I think it's a cool feature. that, yeah, I forgot about buying a new Xbox, and then the other day I was like, oh, I should see if they have that all access stuff up and running, because, yeah. Speaking of which, the Xbox Accessories app is going to get an update because they're launching that Xbox wireless headset. Any of you guys going to grab that wireless headset?
Probably not. I got the Astro A50s. That's a whole.
Oh yeah, you're set. Yeah,
that's the whole issue. I can't get them to work on that Xbox, but I got the wired one for now. That's good.
I mean, probably not. But I don't know if it was like a fake image or if it was debunked or what. But I could have swore somebody in another country, I think, was like syncing these up for the first time, and it said something about hooking up a VR headset, like it recognized it as that. Like it was some. I think it might have been like a Japanese language or something, but in English it had VR written on it. Like they took a picture of their TV of it syncing.
Well, didn't they just? Maybe it wasn't this week, but didn't Phil Spencer double down again on saying they're not interested in VR?
Sure, they're not. Sure, they're not.
Yeah, well, you know what? I trust Phil Spencer, not unlike the other side of the fence, who also had quite a week there at PlayStation. Play at Home 2021 has been outlined. I forgot about this promotion, but this was a thing last year to kind of give folks some games to play while trapped inside. And as that eternity continues, we can celebrate being locked in four walls with a list of free games from PlayStation. Abzu, Enter the Gungeon, Res Infinite, Subnautica, The Witness, Astrobot Rescue Mission, Moss, Thumper, and Paper Beast, all hitting, I think, March 25th. They'll just be free to download from the PlayStation Store, not tied to PlayStation Plus. You just grab them, and they're yours. And then from April 19th through May 14th, Horizon Zero Dawn Complete Edition.
Dang.
You think that Horizon sequel is still coming out this year?
That's my official comment.
Yeah. We're in a weird spot. I'm like, there's been moments where I'm like, should I have done the thing? Should I have like really pushed and tried to get one? And then I'm like, nah. Like there's still not a ton. I mean, I think having it for the TV, right? Like, you know what I mean? You got the TV, let's get the thing so it looks better. And honestly, like, there's moments where I'm playing on the series or the 1S and I'm like, oh, this thing's struggling. And I haven't turned on the PS4 in a long time just because I haven't had anything on there specifically. But even that, you know, downloads, updates, patches, all that stuff is such a bummer that I would appreciate them for that. But I ended up taking the money that I had for the Xbox and buying that Mister, and that's been top notch, so I'm not complaining there. But yeah, hopefully that Zero Dawn Complete Edition is a thing to get people hyped up, and then that's a sign of good things to come, that there might be something to look forward to in the fall. There's still Ratchet and Clank in June, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then eventually you'll have something from Haven Studio, newly founded by Jade Raymond post-departure from Google Stadia. If you recall, after Google Stadia shut down its internal development, we had been part of the news was that Jade Raymond had just left Google, while a lot of the other internal staff had moved to different departments within Google. But we didn't know until this week where Jade Raymond ended up, and she's opened Haven Studio, a new independent studio backed by Sony, and they're working on a brand new unannounced IP. Sorry, let's not say brand new. They are working on an unannounced IP, not confirming that it's brand new or not. In the big blog post with on the PlayStation blog, she said that she's working with a lot of people she's worked with in the past and really looking forward to see what they build, etc. All the typical stuff you see there. Not a ton, but that's interesting. I don't know if this is kind of like a Kojima type deal, right? Indie studio, money behind Sony, make the game here, and then see where it goes. And Sony, not our last big Sony story this week. But following the recent confirmation of virtual reality on the PlayStation 5, again, this is in the wake of Jim Ryan saying that PlayStation had no interest in VR, and then Hideaki Nishino coming to the PlayStation blog to say, "Yo, we're making VR for this thing." He's now taken to the PlayStation blog once again to show the controllers for the new system, which look very familiar to competitive VR controllers, but that's a good thing because we need to get away from those move wands. Each of these little orbs have adaptive triggers. So this is sort of that similar to what the DualSense has, along with haptic feedback, or as we like to call it here, HD rumble. Finger touch detection, so it can tell where your fingers are. And you can make more natural gestures during gameplay. There's tracking in the controllers, tracked by the new VR headset. And then it's got your typical buttons kind of split. So the left controller has an analog stick, triangle, and square, L1, L2, and a create button, while the right controller has analog, circle, and cross buttons, R1, R2, and options. And then they have a grip button kind of bound to R1. Oh, that's what they're calling R1 and L1, are grip buttons. And then you can use them as picking up objects in games. So, this is exciting. I'm actually seeing this. I'm like, okay, you guys are doing something. Because we talk about VR here and there, especially after Mark grabbed the index, and it's, for me to go from 0 to VR would be a lot, right? And like, I haven't started that scale yet, right? That's a long investment, but this is still a lot when you think about it, because one, who knows how much this stuff is when it comes out, and you have the cost of entry of a PlayStation 5 plus this. But if I'm already going to buy a PS5, right? Like I'm not currently planning on building a PC. If I were, then that changes, but I'm at least planning on buying a PS5 at some point. How do we feel about this? I mean, Matt, you said before this is something that intrigues you as long as the games are there. And
yeah, I think these controllers look rad. They look like, I don't know, it looks like what a VR controller probably would look like.
Yeah. But
once again, I'm there if the price point makes sense, and if the price point makes sense and the games are there, yeah, I'm probably there. Unfortunately, the obvious survival horror market for VR, as good as that is, does not apply to me. So I need something a little else. But yeah, no, they're putting all this stuff into it, like a new screen, controllers, and stuff like that. I wonder if Sony's looking at the I don't know, somewhere around like the $700 play here, because. Mm-hmm. I think that was what made PlayStation's VR so successful, was a lot of people already had that box, and then for another $400, it was yours. So I don't know. We'll have to see as they update it with more modern things. A lot of these newer VR headsets have. We'll have to see how much that drives up the price, or if it does.
Mark, I think PlayStation was integral in at least like spreading adoption of VR pretty quickly. I think now Oculus has kind of stepped into that because they've got that, less expensive entry point for people that is in every Target and backed by Facebook. So it's, people are seeing it in their Facebook feed. I've seen a lot of people in Targets that I would not consider VR shoppers buying Oculus or talking about Oculus. But do you think that PlayStation doing this again can tap into that more? Do they legitimize VR for an audience that otherwise would ignore it?
I think this time around, their potential definitely. I think they have I think they have a better chance this time around, since they have more peripherals that are actually dedicated to this, instead of just relying on like the Move controllers from PS3. And The only thing we're not sure about yet also is if this will need the camera in any way. And I think that was their weakness from before as to having like motion trackers in a room or like the Oculus. I think that's why that one is so accessible, especially the wireless version, because it doesn't need anything like that. It just has cameras built into it, and it just can kind of track itself, just in a room. So like it's less setup, it's less all that stuff at the cost of you can only play Oculus games on it. You can't really do anything else with it. But I think that type of accessibility is such a big deal, especially for like parents and stuff.
How about I think one thing Oculus also has going for it is you've got that flexibility of you can buy the adapter to plug it into a PC and use it as a dedicated PC piece. Do you think that PlayStation could or should do something like that? To treat it like its own platform, but then, you know what I mean?
They could.
But I don't think they will.
Yeah.
Sony still seems stingy and stuff like that.
Because
do you think they'll license it to Xbox?
No.
No, the thing with PC, though, is you're going to have to get one of the launchers to play nice with you. And I don't know if PlayStation's going to play nice with Steam.
They've got a PlayStation launcher on, because you've got it for PlayStation Now, you've got Remote Play.
Yeah, but then you just alienate all those games that are potential. You have to roll out those games on that launcher.
Sure.
And
like there are ways
there's
to
another
like,
launcher that you have to fold into GOG Galaxy.
Well, but you do already have a wide variety, including the upcoming Days Gone on Steam and PC. I mean, are they doing this for multiple reasons to try and maybe get in bed a little bit with that?
I don't know. I feel like with Valve having their own hardware out, like, having the Oculus and the Vive already on there. I don't know. I don't see PlayStation putting that much effort into the PC side, and I don't see Steam asking for that either. I think they're both like happy where they're at.
Yeah. Turns out Evo was not happy where they were at. Evo, of course, being the annual fighting game tournament, as they've announced the next chapter in the story of PlayStation and Evo, the world's largest and longest-running fighting game. Sony Interactive Entertainment has teamed up with RTS, a newly founded venture by CEO Stuart Saul. They bought Evo. So Evo is now co-owned by PlayStation and this RTS company. And Evo co-founders Tom and Tony Cannon will remain closely involved in an advisory role. But yeah, and then there was a follow-up from I forget the guy, but he had tweeted that this does not mean that there will be non-PlayStation platforms excluded from the tournaments. You'll still be able to. Nothing will change in that regard. But I think also something important about this is like Street Fighter V was already a PlayStation exclusive, which meant that, and it's funny because I feel like for us, Street Fighter became the one that like we stopped really caring about in a way. When it came to 5, like that one kind of had its time and we moved on. Mm-hmm. But Street Fighter still dictates the fighting game tournament scene in terms of whatever Street Fighters do. Like, Street Fighter's still main stage. I think like not last year, but 2019 was the first time that it was not the closer. Am I wrong about that? I feel like something changed about
Wasn't
that
Dragon Ball the
event.
closer?
I think that might be right. Yeah, like something had dethroned it, which was a big change, but Street Fighter is still very important in that scene, and if Street Fighter says we're on PlayStation, then that means that PlayStation is going to be the lead platform. So this was kind of already tipping that way, and I do wonder how that changes Evo moving forward. They also announced Evo 2021, which is, or I don't think they're calling it 2021, but it's Evo Online again this year. Last year they did have that planned until there were a lot of bad stuff happening with one of the folks within Evo. So in the wake of that, I don't remember the details of that. I just remember it was
one of those there stories.
That's yes, one that is all too common, sadly. Yeah, how do you feel, Mark? Evo and PlayStation, is this a good thing?
I feel like we're still in kind of like the baby phase of esports, but it's like starting to like kind of get its footing. You know what I mean? Like it's not exactly mainstream, but it is still getting acknowledged at the same time. I'm thinking Sony's just trying to just get a good investment while it's early. I'm not sure much else beyond that. But I do know, like, most people, if I remember correctly, I mean, a lot of fighting games were mostly on PlayStation systems already, just for the lack of, I mean, not the lack, just because of the versatility with controls and how it runs and all that stuff. So it definitely took me by surprise, but now the more I think about it, the more it's like, I should have seen this coming in a way. For like some for some company to come in and just kind of,
buy them. Yeah, because it is a business at the end of the day. It's not like it started in humble beginnings, right? But it is definitely a bigger beast. Do you think that this is long-term good for Evo in the way that, I mean, we see a big shift in PlayStation's management, and we're seeing that in terms of which studios are doing what, putting out what, etc. And then, not to compare them one-to-one to Activision Blizzard, but when you look at that side of the fence, like, everything that happened with competitive sports at Activision, right? Like, I think they just laid off a bunch of people from the competitive division this week, while Bobby Kotick got another, like, $20 million in bonuses. But you had that happen but they dropped their, what was their Dota? Heroes of the Storm?
Yes, HOTS.
So they dropped that. Competitive Overwatch, I don't know where that is right now, but like all of that, StarCraft is still big, but not StarCraft big, where it used to be. So we've seen Activision kind of dump that. Do you think that is I don't know, like does Evo still get the same fervor around it, assuming we can get back to physical location?
I do think you can get back there. I mean,
does PlayStation keep it there? That's the big thing.
Well, I think they can, and I think this actually helps Evo, and you think you can get, maybe, like, depend on how they want to do this, hopefully at one point we can do conventions and stuff again, but, like, if PlayStation starts hosting a little bit more of this, like, maybe there's, like, little Evo League events lead into Evo, or something like that, like, you can... I think Evo was just so focused on their one thing. Or they were branching to that second thing in Japan. But like, I feel like if they have enough money and enough enough help, I think they can make this really big. Because when I think fighting game tournaments, I think Evo, and I don't think of anything else. And they could really blow it out of the water by continuing being the number one name in that.
I'm curious and I'm excited for more fighting game stuff, but it needs to be a physical. I need to be able to tune in and watch a stage, but yeah.
Yeah, but like, just imagine, like, that would require PlayStation to have a PSX again, and the world allowing for a PSX again, but like, imagine you're at PSX and there's like an Evo, like, it's not the Evo tournament, but there's an Evo sponsored fighting tournament based on like a new reveal of a game at PSX. Like, there's a lot of tie-ins there you could do.
Yeah, that's potentially good. Do you think we'll see another exclusive fighting game?
What, on PlayStation?
Yeah. Tekken 8?
PlayStation All-Stars? No.
Dude, if this is the beginning of PlayStation All-Stars 2, then I'm really for this news.
No, that died a long time ago.
But what if it didn't?
I don't know. You might see Street Fighter go exclusive again. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
I could see that.
I think we could do, if someone could, it'd be a licensing nightmare, but if someone could do what Sakurai's done for PlayStation as an actual 2D fighter, I would be so stoked.
I don't know who else can run on 1 hour of sleep a day on planet Earth, though.
Well, he's technically an independent contractor, so they could always just get him. Now, you guys remember back in May at the Project Athia reveal event where they showed the PlayStation 5, we all walked away from it wondering, what will Project Athia become? Is this another Project Octagon? What was the Project
Traveler.
Octopath that became Octopath Traveler? And instead, Project Athia has now become Forspoken, which my notes here have underlined in red because that is not a word the way it is spelled. And when you try and look up the definition of it, it tells you about an upcoming action role-playing video game in development by Luminous Productions. So yeah, this is originally revealed as Project Athia, but you will now be playing as Frey Holland, an ordinary young woman who must harness her magical abilities to survive in a fantastical and dangerous land called Athia. This is that one co-written by Gary Whitta, and coming out of that really good-looking studio. They're the ones that did all the Final Fantasy 15 CG stuff. Look really good. Yeah, that was all part of that Square Enix thing on Thursday, where they showed off a lot of different things and updated a lot. Anything come out of that thing you guys are excited about?
I didn't get a chance to watch it. I just know right now, like, especially with that game that's like a PlayStation 5 exclusive, like, if they can get it out sooner rather than later before all the games start coming, it's going to do well, because I have not turned on the PlayStation 5 for a bit here.
I do know that one is 2022, but I know it like had just slipped into 2022, so it may be an early one. I don't know, but coming along, I suppose. What's the last thing you've played on the PS5?
Probably Destruction Derby that week I spent with it.
Oh wow, yeah. We've got a couple news. We've got one news story from that Square thing. Well, we could talk about it now. Why not? G Darius HD version 2. This is coming from our friends at M2. It's an update for their G Darius HD, which had come out previously, but now this version 2 will be out late 2021 for PS4 and Switch. They're going to do a new beginner's mode for G Darius and a new rebalanced arcade exclusive G Darius version 2. So this is going to be another part of the M2 Shot Trigger series. I'm really bummed. I mean, this wouldn't have come out of the Square Enix thing, but I'm really bummed they have not announced that Aleste collection for the West yet, because I think more people need to be playing those games, especially GG Aleste 3 is super good. But yeah, along with the announcement here, Square linked to a video on Taito's YouTube channel, where M2's Naoki Hori, he's the main CEO or president of the company, and Yukiko Karashima spoke about the upcoming project, plans for it. They talk a lot about the in-depth changes they've made. They're always so detail-oriented. We'll talk about them in just a moment here a little bit more, but we'll wrap up some of the Square stuff. Bubble Bobble for Friends, a game I almost bought and didn't, is coming to Steam. Square, this is kind of interesting. There's a Just Cause mobile game, which I feel like we knew about already. But that is, they showed off a new cinematic trailer and new story details. Got a trailer for Balan Wonderworld. We got Marvel's Avengers on next-gen consoles available now, but be careful about your save, something like that. A remaster of Life is Strange. And there's a brand new entry called Life is Strange True Colors. I think that was everything out of their little piece there. There's something about a Hitman. Yeah, Hitman Sniper. Project Hitman Sniper Assassins revealed. A new piece there. And an AR Space Invaders mobile game.
That's the one I'm intrigued about.
Yeah, they had a interesting little showcase. I didn't watch it, just headline grabbing, but that seemed pretty cool.
The Avengers stuff, if you're on Xbox, it just works. You're fine. It's on PlayStation. It is a fucking nightmare.
Interesting. Is it one of those ones where you need to? Hold on. You need to.
I don't know.
If you were playing on PS4, on your PS5, you need to download the PS4 version, download your PlayStation Plus cloud save, download the PS5 version of the game, upload the save, and then load it into PS5. Is that the idea?
I don't think
it's
you're
something.
too
It's something
removed.
like that.
They had to put out a thing. So I guess if folks are running into that and you are playing Marvel's Avengers from PS4 to PS5, you should look into what Square put out in regards to that.
It's something.
I guess.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So this, I don't know necessarily this week, but at some point this month, 35 years ago, a video game hit the arcades called Fantasy Zone, Sega's very own. And we're going to talk about it this week because it's 35 years old. And Fantasy Zone did a lot of things in the history of video games. Fantasy Zone, in its own right, is a pretty fun game, but it's kind of built on the idea of Defender, where you are kind of flying. You can move left to right, and you can move up and down, and you can shoot in both directions, left and right. Your main goal in Fantasy Zone is to take out, I believe it's 9 or 10 main targets that are on each board, but there's also smaller enemies that fly at you in this side-scrolling shooter. As you're going through, the bigger enemies are going to drop more money, but you're collecting money along the way so that you can then take it to the shop where you can buy upgrades for your ship throughout the gameplay. So you get things like a faster engine, different gun, although the gun upgrades are temporary, and then you can change your bomb as well, because you have a shot and you have a bomb that drops. And you can get upgrades or changes to both. Each stage kind of takes you through those main enemies you take out, and those main enemies are usually spitting out smaller enemies that you fight, and then there's a big boss at the end of each stage that you have to navigate. Fantasy Zone, one that I had tried at different points in my life, and it never really clicked until the aforementioned M2. There's a documentary from My Life in Gaming where they do, it's called The Complete Works of M2. If you are interested in M2 or Japanese video game development or any of that, I think it's really worth a watch. Especially because M2 is so known for their dedication to like the making sure they're always adding some extra touch to a game. They so the main founder and still running M2, Naoki Hori, loved Fantasy Zone as a kid and would play it at any opportunity. And when they finally started working with Sega to make ports of those games, there was never a version of this game that ran on a specific hardware of Sega's. So they got that hardware and learned how to make it on there just so they could port it to PS2 and fit in the PS2. I'm not doing the story justice, but they've gone through crazy lengths to make some of these games work. And yeah, so that I was like, okay, well, there's got to be something there to Fantasy Zone if they put that much time and effort into like making their own board to look like and behave. Or I think they maybe even acquired a Sega 16 board and then ported it to that just so they could learn the intricacies of the board better and then make a version of it that ran natively on PS2. Anyway. So that got me into it. And of course, Fantasy Zone was included on the Sega Genesis Mini that they did. So I really only recently got into Fantasy Zone in that kind of way. And there's also a Switch port that I just picked up this week. And the Switch port by M2 also has a couple of different options and modes you can play Of course, you can play the classic arcade mode for Fantasy Zone, but there's also ways where there's like a time trial where you only get one life. There's a way where you just have all of the weapons at your disposal, so you can kind of have some fun with it. But yeah, it is. It's really cool. And Opa-Opa, the small ship, was Sega's first mascot. Predating Sonic, I would say, is still probably the canonical mascot of Sega, even to this day. And prior to Sonic, they had tried Alex Kidd, but once Sonic ran onto the scene, Alex Kidd went to the ground and has not resurfaced until actually this year. There's that game 2 out, but
That's right.
But yeah, for a few months before Alex Kidd, Opa-Opa was the answer to Sega's mascot woes. And yeah, it's 35 years. So have you guys played Fantasy Zone? If you have, in what capacity?
Yeah. Last year, when I was in my on my Sega High, I got the Sega 3D Classics collection for my 3DS, and I can't remember if that included the original Fantasy Zone as like an extra, but one of the main ones was Fantasy Zone 2, which is like somehow a sequel and a remake at the same time. I mean, that one spoiled me because like it was hard to play the original just because of visuals and just like the upgraded stuff and all that. And I think Fantasy Zone 2 is actually it's a port of the PS2 version that was only in Japan. So this was our first time getting a taste of it.
Yeah. Which was probably also made by M2 back then. The port, at least.
Yeah. But I did enjoy how they did like the different. So it's like when you're in a zone, there's like 2 versions of it. Because sometimes like when you fight a certain enemy, like a little portal opens up. You can go into the portal, and it kind of like changes the scenery around you. And I don't know if you're like skipping to a completely another level or not. But I always thought that was kind of neat, and I think that also determines your boss fight, I think, as well, depending on which zone you're in. It's
That's
a
all
little.
in 2?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think 1 was definitely more like, limited and like primitive in comparison, but I feel like they still kind of play the same. It took a bit to get used to like the movement of Opa-Opa and how like you can go like back and forth, and it's like the area is technically never ending because it just scrolls infinitely, but you do come back around. But yeah, it definitely like left an impression, and I've been thinking about it here and there, and obviously it's part of that label, the cute 'em up genre.
Yeah, it kind of like kicked that off along with Twin B from Konami, but that
right, and like there was times where I was getting them confused because the mascots were like kind of similar, but not. But obviously, one's vertical, one's horizontal.
Yeah,
and then it made me think about Sega All-Star Racing Transformed, or maybe it's the first one where Opa-Opa was a playable character in that.
Yeah, I think so. But
I think I like that for what it is. The idea of buying temporary power-ups is it's cool, and it does give you incentive to like try not to mess up for as long as you can, so you can keep that with you.
Yeah.
But it definitely it's challenging, and I think in a good way that's not too frustrating.
Yeah, I think the one thing that was neat about it is like you could just make a game where you're moving right and left and up and down and shooting left and right, but adding that other option of you need to go collect coins as they fall. Otherwise, you're not going to upgrade your ship, or you could never upgrade your ship, and that's fine too.
Hard mode.
but that I think that's a neat gameplay addition to it, and we'd see stuff like Resogun, also Ape Defender, right? And were you going to say that one, Matt? Sorry.
I was going to say, with me never playing it, I guess the closest thing I've ever played to it was Resogun.
Yeah, right? But like that, like it's still like you're kind of shooting up top, but you need to make sure you're dropping down to pick up the
dudes.
Rescue the people. Matt, have you seen Fantasy Zone? Was this your first kind of exposure to it?
This was my first exposure to it. I don't have anywhere to play it without me spending money. But I watched like a long play of it, and yeah, no, it was. How colorful it is for that time. I stood out to me like almost instantly. And then I don't know, it just like it's one of those things where you think back then you would have to read an instruction manual or something for some of these games for buttons, but it looks like it looks within 5 minutes it just you get it. Like you shoot the main things, you shoot all of them, then there's a boss and you move on. And it's so weird how something like that has evolved and it's almost the same but not at the same time. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it started a lot. I mean, yeah, we wouldn't see that kind of that cute 'em up. We wouldn't see how other shooters have evolved. This is definitely like a nice little touchstone in the middle of the evolution of arcade shooters. Yeah, if you are interested in Fantasy Zone, I recommend that Switch port by M2, the 3DS port by M2. If you've got that Genesis Mini, it's on there. A Genesis version that I don't know if the Genesis version ever actually existed. There's also a TurboGrafx version that's not great. It kind of is, but not entirely. Yeah, I don't remember it being on the Genesis, but nope, it is. There's a no, I think it is only on that Genesis Mini. Sorry. Anyway, top-notch, classic piece of history there. And it reminds me a lot, the art reminds me of, there's a 70s movie called Forbidden Planet, an animated movie, that is very fantastical. And this very much has, like, I think, like, level 3 in this immediately just took me back to seeing that movie. Very weird, psychedelic kind of stuff. We're going to get psychedelic on a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to find out more about that Marvel's Avengers after this. Quick correction. Super Fantasy Zone is the one on that Genesis Mini. I was mistaken. But yeah, you can't go wrong. They're all basically the same gameplay. Mark and I were talking a bunch about the story of Fantasy Zone while we were on break, and there's a wild saga to uncover, let me tell you that. And you should uncover it. Turns out old video games, still great. How about new video games, Mark? You've been playing some Marvel's Avengers. Here some almost 6 months after its release.
Yep.
So, we got 2 weeks in a row now where I've got just one question for one of the games on your list.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Short answer, friends. I was talking with my friend Joe, and I was just at a point now where I kind of don't care what I play exactly. I just miss playing with friends.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to like jump into some just goofy stuff and just experience it for what it is.
You got to be careful with that guy, though. He tried to get me back into Destiny this week.
Same here.
Oh,
it was between that or Avengers, and we decided that I think I would have a better time with Avengers.
It's like death, choosing death or death, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, I do wish I could be trying it on my PC and have crossplay, but that is non-existent. So I settled for my awful cursed PS4. So that's been getting love this week. I've been playing this almost every day for for over 5 hours a day.
I
Yeah.
am wildly intrigued. Okay, so I assume you've made it through the campaign at this point?
No.
Oh.
I've mostly been doing the multiplayer.
So what's different about multi? Because I thought it was kind of like a Destiny-style thing where you can kind of play through the campaign together or alone or whatever.
You can at a certain point. You can have you can have your friends join in with you during the campaign. The only problem with the campaign is that it tries to tell you that that is the only way you can unlock all the other characters, because it's like a pseudo tutorial-esque kind of thing where you get time with each hero, learn their ins and outs and what have you. But what they don't tell you with its poor menu navigation is that you can just start multiplayer, and it will tell you that, hey, this is spoilers because it's post-campaign. Do you want to do this? I'm like, what are you going to spoil on me? The superheroes win? All right. And so,
Right, yeah.
I don't care about the story too much. That's not the point here. The point is just to beat up enemies with your friends and just having a good time. Even though this game is super buggy, it is
Still.
I mean, it's not as bad as it apparently used to be.
I remember we did the beta or whatever, and it was not super hot. But
Oh man, there's still some it hasn't broken the game for me, but it's it reminds me of that good era, and like when Red Dead first came out, and you found all those crazy bugs that just made the game funny or whatever. It's a lot of that where a lot of your character just doesn't appear sometimes. So maybe you're just a set of hair floating around, or middle of your torso is missing, or half your body's in T-pose while you're moving around.
I love superhero. That's my favorite superhero. A block of hair.
Yeah.
That's crime.
But the more I was playing this, the more I was starting to see the appeal for it. I think from afar, yeah, obviously I can see why it's hard to be interested or to want to even get into this. And you're right. I can't defend that by any means. But there is something cool about just having your character and leveling up the skill trees and learning more about the abilities of how they work, and just getting up to just trying to max out your character. The loot, getting the whole loot thing isn't even that bad either, because it's only 4 or 5 things you have to really focus on, and just getting that is just so easy and second nature. You don't really think about it when you're playing. There's an odd addicting nature to the gear, where you could just hold an L2 and it will auto equip the best stuff. You don't have to look through each thing. And then whatever extra that you have, you can dismantle it, and then it turns into resources, and then you can use those resources to upgrade your gear. They each have a limited. It'll be a slot out of 5 or out of 10, and then that will unlock the extra perks of your gears to further boost your stats on your character and everything. But yeah, basically, but it is very repetitive, of course. There's not too many levels. It's you kind of you tried the same grounds that you do in the campaign. The missions are usually the same. You just go around, fight robots or AIM soldiers, and the same 2 or 3 boss fights that are only in the game repeat. But here I am still playing it every day, just about, and I can't believe that I've been thinking about it as soon as I wake up, and it's I just want to hop back into this and whatever. But again, if this was by myself, no,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have touched this at all. So yeah,
Who are you
Friends
playing
is
as?
I am playing as Thor.
Cool.
I think typically, if this was a couple years ago, I probably would have been more about Captain America.
Yeah.
But
But
No,
your
no.
hair's long again, so I guess.
Yeah, you know. So actually, throwing a hammer is just my favorite thing.
It seems like fun.
Because it's great when you can just chuck that, and it gets to a point where when you hit an enemy in a distance, it just lands on them, and they can't get up. And as long as you don't call it back, it just stays there, and then you can just summon lightning forever and just tase them to death. And while you're still like punching and headbutting other people, and then you can, call it back, and definitely has like a God of War like feel to it with the combat. Like, the combat is actually pretty damn decent once you
you
are
can
like
kind
knee
of flesh
deep in
out
it.
those abilities and things as well. How are the new characters in there? So Hawkeye's supposed to be in it, right?
Yeah, he just dropped.
Just dropped. Has anyone tried that one yet?
Yeah. We went through the campaign for that. As soon as when it released. I think his part, like, that story was maybe like 3 hours at most, but it's all free, so like that's not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I didn't play as him, but like I'm sure if I want to do that, I'll have to go back and play through it again as him.
He's the first. Black Panther's next, and then at some point PlayStation will get that Spider-Man exclusive, right?
Yeah, I don't know when the Spider-Man will be though, so I'm wondering if Sony is just
delayed.
Yeah, like I'm thinking if we're gonna hear anything about it, it won't be at a Square event. It might be like a Sony like thing, like State of Play or something. Like I could see them announcing that.
Right.
And out of Marvel hero stuff, like I think Ant-Man is more of like one of my favorites, just because how silly that concept is. And apparently, when there was like a leaked list of characters still to come, he was on that list. And I was like, I guess I would have tried this eventually, just because of that. Yeah, so I still need to get through the story. I do want to finish it. I hate at the beginning because it's like 3 tutorials like in a row, basically. Because like what we saw at E3, they kind of show you like each.
Force you into each character still.
Yeah, I mean,
basically what we played in the beta was like you have to play as them on the bridge, then you have to play as Hawk with Miss Marvel.
Yeah, like because the whole like A-Day event or whatever, they kind of give you a taste of everybody, but not enough to like fully understand them. I'm like, okay, but before that, your Miss Marvel before she gets her powers, and even that's kind of giving like a minor tutorial. So it's that part, then the part from E3, and then you're back to being Miss Marvel for a good while. I don't care about her character, it's just because she's just a nerdy fan fiction writer. That's her. Marvel fan becoming a Marvel hero kind of thing. It's just whatever. I just tune it out. But it gets to a point where once you unlock more heroes to play as, you can just switch out and not have to play as her. So that's fine. But then again, you still have to unlock these quote, unlock these heroes as you go on. And that in itself is still kind of a tutorial, but it's like more fleshed out, I guess. I think I'm almost done that, though. It's not as long as I thought it was going to be. What was it? Because you first get her, then you unlock Hulk. I didn't really care about playing as him too much. Then I got Iron Man, another character I'm not that interested in. Then you get Black Widow. She's actually really cool. I didn't think that was going to happen. Just her freaking tonfas and her grappling hook.
Yeah, because when you think about like her in the context of the others with like pretty iconic superpowers, it's like, well, what does she do? I mean, she's rad, but like, what kind of combat? You know what I mean? But like, she was a lot of fun in that beta for the little short time you got to play as her.
Yeah, and then you get Thor after that. So what I'm thinking though is that I think by the time I get Thor in the single player, he's going to be so overpowered.
Because you've done some, yeah.
Because I've done so much with him. Like I think he's almost level 40, and the level cap I think is 50.
Oh wow. Yeah,
and then
just rake through that single player stuff then.
And then your gear has its own level power, and that's kind of what dictates everything. Honestly, like your character level doesn't really mean too much, other than you just getting skill points into fine tuning how your character plays. And I think the level cap for that is 150. and I think I'm in like I think I'm just now touching the 110s or 120s, something like that.
So does it scratch that same Destiny itch? Because I know that you never got way into, but you at least kind of could appreciate that side of it. Like, is it kind of doing those similar things? Because I know they definitely wanted to do that.
It does similar things, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about, even though I talked about a lot about the loot, it's not that crazy to, like, you don't have to really farm for a lot of it. I mean,
yeah.
And you have to worry about, I can't remember a lot about with Destiny with, like, how you can, like the way you could mod each piece of armor on, like, each weapon and all that. There's not necessarily that whole aspect to it.
Yeah. I think that's something newer, too, with Destiny, where you can add little things. In the last couple of years, they added those, like...
I was going to say, there's going to be a difference here in the games because Marvel's Avengers isn't even a year old. And then Destiny 1. There's Destiny 1, and then there's Destiny 2. And then Destiny 2 itself has been around for quite a while now, so...
Do you think that Avengers, Matt, gets to this Destiny level?
I mean, they still have a cast of characters to release, so that will always keep people coming back.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if it wasn't for that, I don't think this game would be living much longer or be talked about as much. It's because, like, it does suffer from a lack of content once you kind of do everything. Like, there's not really much point to go back.
I mean, I could see, once you kind of get most of the cast of characters and their campaigns, like, kind of, all right, bad guys come in, here's his 10-hour campaign that brings new legendary loot for all your heroes if you run through it and do whatever. It's going to stick around. One, I don't know how long, but two, it's going to stick around because they threw so much money at this. They have to.
Yeah, like, it definitely feels like a game that should have came out back when, like, the first Avengers movie came out. Like, this feels like a last-gen game for sure. Like, it feels like a 360, like, PS3 game in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's what kind of makes it charming. And I've definitely, like, I just like the idea of developing your character. Like, I like that there's a skill tree and just seeing that evolve as you go on. And yeah, just beating shit up with your friends and traversing everywhere. And everybody has just, I don't know, like nobody really feels copy paste. I mean, yeah, like your button combos are going to be the same. Like, squares.
No, but they all felt completely unique, even in the early stages I played.
Yeah, and I definitely like it more than Ultimate Alliance 3.
That's saying something. Yeah.
Yeah.
One last question. When we did talk about this game, I used the analogy, it's like an unseasoned piece of chicken. Is that still true?
I'd say that there is some seasoning, but nothing fancy. It's like somebody put pepper on it.
Got it. You gotta bring your own seasoning.
Yeah. But I don't know. Friends is the biggest part here.
Yeah.
It's just something to turn your mind off to, and
Yeah.
It's kind of reminiscent of, like, Muso games, but not to that extreme. But just being with people and just beating up just a bunch of
and just mash it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just a good time.
Yeah, I got a lot of that out of Destiny 2 when I would play. You're shooting and you're doing the same thing over and over again, but you're having fun. You're whatever, hanging out, and there is a sense of progression you can at least track and feel good about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Now you got me thinking about Destiny again. All right, let's turn off those knobs, and we'll keep the knobs turned off because it looks like we won't be playing Gotham Knights this year. As it was announced late Friday, Gotham Knights will now launch worldwide in 2022. Statement from Warner Brothers: "We are giving the game more time to deliver the best possible experience for players. Thank you for our amazing fans for your tremendous support of Gotham Knights. We look forward to showcasing more of the game in the coming months." Matt, how disappointed are you in the delay in Gotham Knights?
This was one of the few games I was looking forward to this year. You know, if it needs more time, it needs more time. Hey, at least they didn't blame COVID, so you never progress, right?
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, this was one of the few games I was putting money aside for and expecting it to launch like by summer. So don't know what I'm gonna do there. I really like. I guess I'll go finish my playthrough of Arkham City. I don't know. But I was super stoked about this one. Still am, but boy.
Yeah, it gives me more time to complete these Arkham games because I still have yet to do that.
Any of them?
Only Arkham Asylum. I'm still on Origins before I do City and.
Oh right, you're going to. Okay, now I'm remember. Yes, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. But now I have to start over Origins again because I forget everything.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta go back to Origins at some point, but speaking of going back, I can't stop. I just can't stop. All week long. Every day after work, I shut down my work computer, I pivot to the left, and I fire up Steam, and I'm in Loop Hero. And then I play it for anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. And then inevitably at some point throughout the night, I end up firing it up again. And boy, do I love me some Loop Hero. Have you guys been keeping up with Loop Hero at all?
Usually for me, it's not like I touch it every day kind of game, but when I do play it, I end up playing for multiple hours kind of thing. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe we're closer than I think to playtime.
When
I think like I'm total playtime, I don't know, because like the demo playtime doesn't filter into what your Steam thing is. So I think on Steam I'm like 8 hours, but I think I had like 4 or 5 on the demo version. Sorry, Mark.
Oh no. I was gonna say when you guys were talking in the group chat about it, I was gonna respond with like, so like, because I think you're just talking about your experiences and like sharing tips or whatever, and that's when I was gonna bring in like, yeah, well, you know, if you do this with Thor and Marvel's Avengers, you can do this, because I have not been touching Loop Hero. Like, Avengers seriously took up all my time because I did not realize how long I'd be playing that game for each day, and then I didn't want to admit I was playing it until it was ready.
No, dude, but I love that. Like, I was thinking this week, like, Loop Hero I've spent the most time with this week, but even that, like, I haven't spent a ton of time, and I haven't had a game that I've gotten lost in recently, and so I'm happy that you've got that in Avengers.
But I miss Loop Hero music so much.
I still hear it, dude. Like every time I shower, when I have an idle thought, like the Loop Hero music is in my head.
Lich theme, man. Like if I was a wrestler, that'd be my fucking song.
Yes. So I have not seen the second boss yet, but Matt, you beat her, right?
Sure did.
So I almost summoned her, and then I bailed because I had too many good resources and that's the beauty of Loop Hero. It's like, do I push it or do I lose all this? You know what I mean? So
I go into runs like knowing what my goal is. Am I here to farm resources or am I here to make an attempt? Sometimes you pivot depending on the gear you're getting and whatever, but generally I've had that expectation of what this was going to be happen. So I don't like get defeated when I lose.
That was the thing. I had gone into it saying this is going to be a boss run. And I did everything. I was picking the best gear. I was prepping for what the boss was going to be. And then I got so many good resources that I needed. And I was like right on the cusp of being good health-wise, but also it wouldn't take much to just wreck me. And I was like, I should bail before this happens.
When you uploaded that screenshot of your map, Joe, that scared me because you like every tile was covered.
Yeah, dude, like you can get there now. So I've
yet to do that.
That maze card is another beast of like filling the map because you literally just fill the map.
I don't have that.
But
yet.
Yeah, the thing for me now, I'm building out what are they called now? The treasuries. So I'm building one where I can, and then only filling in the bottom 6. So that I can like really stack those treasuries up the wall and like capitalize on that. Another pro tip: the what do you call it? The mountains, that turn into the peak. I picked this one up from Jan at Giant Bomb. You can use your Oblivion card after the rock mountain has turned into the peak. Remove it so that it goes back to a set of 8, and then drop another rock or mountain, and you get the peak bonus again.
Oh.
And you stop the harpy from spawning, which the harpy's fun, but also the harpy has a high evasion, so it can sometimes be a pain in the butt.
Right.
But yeah, you can kind of, if you have a bunch of Oblivion cards and stone cards, you can kind of just sit there and farm those rock resources or whatever comes out of that. But I've been doing a lot of the like Vampire Mansion village combo to get the upgraded village. And then now I've got the forest card. So Matt, have you got forest yet?
I'm not there yet. But I think that's one of the next things I can get based on where my village upgrade tree is.
I
have sand though. I have sand and desert.
Do I have? I don't.
Or the
I think
sand
I do have
dunes.
sand, but I didn't turn it on.
Deserts. Yeah. Okay.
Or I didn't put them in the deck. Have you done it? Do they give you anything cool with? You know what I mean? Like.
So they don't give you any. At least not that I found enemy cool, but
yeah.
Everyone's health, including yours, like goes down 1%. So if you keep stacking them, they go down 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. So I was like, I didn't realize it was for everyone, including yourself. So I'm like stacking them all in weird ways. I'm like, all right, where's the enemy? What's going to come out of this? Is it going to be a sand monster? Or, all right, let me put this near the treasury. I was like, maybe if I put these next to grass, which that does give the grass a buff, by the way.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, trying to stack it all different ways. And then I read the card again after I was like, what can I spawn out of this? Like, well, I'm doing everything I can possibly think of. And then I realized it's for everyone. So there's your...
You're just draining health.
Yeah. But that, that's fine. Like, especially if you keep getting high health armor, like, your health can keep going up, but the others are going down.
Yeah, the forest... I'm going to leave some of the surprise there for you, but yeah, like, there's definitely you stack a certain number of... You don't have to put them in the same order like the peak or anything like that, but if you put enough on the thing, something will happen. And then I've been trying to play around with what the thing happens there by putting things next to it and seeing what comes out of that. So that's been an interesting development in this. And then last night before bed, I did... I finally unlocked the Watchtower, which you can upgrade 4 times or 3 times after you unlock it. And that adds archers right by your camp. So they don't help you with the boss from what I understand, but anything you put by the camp gets attacked by archers. So I've started to stack a lot of things around the camp now, knowing that I've got a little bit of backup. But yeah, I mean, like, a good run for me is always, if I can get the Rat Wolf to come to my aid, if I can get, some good evasion. And I found myself now where I wasn't doing this before, where before I was kind of like sacrificing the top number stat for some of the substats. So like if I got a pair of boots that were just evasion and didn't have these substats, I'd go for the substats, even if the evasion percentage on this, solo trait boots were a little bit higher. Now I'm going for the higher thing so I can try and get better tier armor each loop around, or better equipment each loop around. And it seems like that's feeding into making me stronger the better I go, or the more times I go around. And it's, again, man, like I'm still learning so much about it, and it's not boring, which is you're spending so much time and you're doing basically the same thing, but there's so many different permutations. And now I've unlocked the encyclopedia where you can review everything you've done. You can look at all of the items, the characters, the whatever, and you can see what effects they have, what things they drop. It just doesn't stop. And yeah, I don't know how much more I can say about Loop Hero, but I know that I'm still discovering things and still like having a ton of fun with it. I don't know when we'll stop talking about it. So listeners, if you're tired of hearing it, I'm sorry, but it's that good of a game.
Well, I mean, that's that's a testament to its title, Like, you go in loops and loops, and we're not going in loops and loops talking the same things about the game, but just the fact that we're still talking about the game.
Yeah, and
that means something.
Yeah. And we're still talking about Resident Evil 6?
This will be the last time.
I didn't mean that. That sounded negative the way it came out. But yeah, you wrapped that one up this week.
Yeah, so finished Ada's campaign. Got to say, for that one overall, pretty forgettable.
That's a bummer. And that was the post-release campaign, right? They put that out after?
That I'm not too sure.
It was built in. You just had to beat one of the 3 main campaigns to unlock it.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, and like she like pseudo kind of goes through like the quote greatest hits of the story. So like you run into like a lot of like the similar boss fights you've tried it before. This time I wasn't the player 1 character, which would be Ada. I was the player 2 character, which is just Agent. And it's just some soldier that kind of looks like Hunk, but is not Hunk. And what's funny about this is that, like, I'm pretty sure the Ada campaign was meant to be a single-player campaign, the way it's designed. Because if you're an agent, you can't do jack. You can't open doors. You can't hit switches. You can't
Wow.
like there's no there's no co-op things where you both have to open a door together or you have to boost her because she has a grappling hook. So whatever she grapples somewhere, I just appear right next to her out of nowhere. Like,
oh my gosh.
She has to do all the quick time events. Like, I didn't have to do anything but just help with taking care of enemies. So it was pretty chill on my side.
That's a very, I don't know. That's a bummer, especially like it's meant to be the reward for completing the campaign, and then it feels like a downgrade from playing co-op.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, it was fun. Like, it was still fun to, like, to play together. But it's just funny. Like, he's not in any of the cutscenes. He's just a non-canon thing that just happens to be there. But yeah, I think like, I mean, they try to go all out with it. Like towards the end, like the final boss really pulled like kind of like the end of Akira kind of moment, where it was just like. The whole boat was just taken over by like this glob of flesh with faces growing out everywhere, and had to shoot them and whatnot. Like, it's pretty cool in design, but I think they just try to make this as action packed as possible, and I think nothing tops the Jake and Sherry campaign. Just best characters, best credits music still.
Okay, so I actually have some clarity. I looked this up. Ada's campaign...
Yes, I want to talk about that song.
Oh. Ada's campaign was originally just single player. Agent was added in after people complained it was not co-op.
Wow. They did the bare minimum with that.
So you got the 5-minute throw in a dude patch.
Yeah.
And that's what happened.
Wow.
And like the funniest thing about these games is like the characters' personalities like change throughout the missions. Like the way you can talk to your partner to like you can like praise them or thank them or like command them to like wait and follow and all that. Like the tone in their voice and how they say it changes per like as it goes with the story. So like there's continuity there. But like so like with Leon, my favorite thing was just to constantly just keep going like nice and like a quick thumbs up. They all do a quick thumbs up when you praise, but like his was that. Chris would be like hell yeah at some points, or sometimes he'd just be like a cocky smartass and just being like mean and rude and yelling at everyone. For Jake, my favorite thing was when he was dying, because he would just be like Jesus Christ, it just dies. So hearing that a lot was great. Agent, there's certain times when you're praising and he's just like out of nowhere. Like normally he's like a Solid Snake kind of voice. He'll be like, excellent, good job, nice. But then when he's like really excited out of nowhere, he's like 200%, and he's just like, thanks, much appreciated. Ah, it's just like screaming for no reason. Like, dude, calm down. What happened?
They didn't balance the.
I was gonna say 5-minute patch job, baby.
Yeah, you notice it.
That
But
makes sense. That's why I was confused if Ada's was co-op or not, because I guess it was originally single player when I played it.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, not a bad co-op game overall, but you're not missing much at the same time.
So where does this fall in Resident Evil for you, and what's next for you in Resident Evil?
Where does this fall for me?
Over,
like
under... All right, real quick, hot ranking of Resident Evils. What's the best Resident Evil game? Go.
Ooh.
Matt, don't say 4.
Instinctively, my mind went to original 2. But then I thought of 7 immediately after.
OG 2 and then 7. Matt, where are you at?
My favorite is 4, although 2 is very good.
Yeah, it just OG 2's atmosphere and style, just the way it looks. I don't know, just something about that combination of everything. Just
I think
hits right.
we should legitimately do this as I complete more of these. I think you could make an argument for 2, 4, new 2.
Yeah.
All up top. 7 even up top.
Yeah.
Where does 6 fall in line with 5 for you? Over or under?
Oh, under 5.
Under 5.
Yeah.
How about 3 remake?
I like 3 remake for what it is, but but because of the goofiness of 6, I feel like you can get a little more out of that, especially if you're playing with somebody. If I'm playing by myself, I'm gonna pick 3 remake.
Over 5?
No. Over
6.
Over 6. 5 I would play before remake 3 again.
Interesting.
5 story. I like it.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah, and what's next for you in terms of what are you going to dive into RE wise?
I'm still tempted to try to beat remake 1 before Village comes out. I don't know if I will, but I think I last left off with Rebecca playing the piano.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not quite sure what to do from there because it's been a while. So now I gotta process of elimination to check what doors I haven't been in yet or what I have been in and what can I pick up and all that.
I got it. You ready? Next time you have an Avengers session, pop on an RE speed run in the background. You'll slowly absorb that through osmosis, and then when you sit down to do it, you'll be like, "Oh, I got it. Let me just run here."
Yeah. And I already ran out of one thing of kerosene.
Oh, right, that whole
Dude, you feel it. And I'm not sure if it happened or if I remember it happening when we were doing that series. The first time you go to that gate behind the stairs on the first floor, and you have to there's those 2 octagon or hexagonal shapes to put stuff in.
Yeah.
When you first go up to that cage, it just zooms in on it and you just hear a woman moaning or screaming. Yeah. I forgot about that. That still sent chills. It's it's crazy that I know what is going to happen and it still affects me.
Still able to, they
and Crimson Head still freak me out.
They more just make me mad, but
yeah, and especially with being Chris, right? Because you get a knife, and that knife is useless. I can't time anything with it, so I'm why am I even carrying this for? I can't do much with it, so I have it to a point where it's just in storage.
Oh wow, that bad.
I just can't react fast enough with it. Crimson Heads get
it doesn't break, right?
No, it doesn't break. It's separate from the daggers that you pick up as a defense thing.
Okay, right.
But yeah, a Crimson Head will hit me 3 times before I can even try to get a hit in on him. So it's I just can't do it.
Well, Brad, I'm excited for Village still, but I'm glad you got through another one, because that's helped to shape my Resident Evil future in a way. Konami's shaping the Bomberman future, with Super Bomberman R Online finally leaving the thretches of Stadia. Super Bomberman R Online will be released on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC via Steam as a free-to-play title with cross-platform play support More information on launch timing will be announced soon. This is, of course, the 64-player online battle royale Bomberman game. Which, fun quote from, is it still Kind of Funny's Imran Khan? Did he end up somewhere else?
I'm not sure on that.
But Imran Khan, in the wake of, I know he was hanging out with them after Game Informer, but had said that a Konami rep told him that a Stadia rep told him there is no possible way this game could work outside of Stadia, and here we have it coming to the Nintendo Switch. So,
boom.
Dude, Stadia, man. So powerful.
Yeah.
All the servers.
They had a good idea, man. They had a good idea that just didn't get fully realized. They took a peek at the future. It is still so weird to me that they showed a lot of gaming's failures at their launch, as if to say, we know where this is going to end up.
Yeah.
Speaking of Konami,
I was going to play. I'll play that Bomberman game though.
Oh, dude, yeah, fully, yeah. I thought, when this got announced for Stadia, I was mad because I was like, well, I'm never going to play it, but hopefully they put it somewhere else where I will, and I will. I like that they're keeping Bomberman alive. I was just playing. Oh gosh. Oh, I don't remember now. I'm so sorry. It is. It's Hudson's Answer to Parodius. It's cool, man. You can play as Bomberman or the PC Engine, and it's a top-down shooter. It's like it's super good. Anyway, I've been thinking a lot about Bomberman lately, so this popping up was very exciting to me. And I've been playing something Castlevania adjacent in a game called Children of the Night, which is a very difficult video game title to bing because there is, I believe, a documentary or an organization that fights the kidnapping of children that makes it hard to look this up. But Children of the Night is developed by Hikaru Games. It's ColecoVision and MSX Homebrew, which we don't talk a lot about Homebrew on this because I don't think any of us largely play a lot of Homebrew. But this kind of, now that I have access to things on the Mister that I otherwise wouldn't have, I'm exploring a bit. And Children of the Night was recommended on a forum as an adventure game where you play as Dracula and you are trying to figure out why you have been brought back from the dead. Dracula moves. It's kind of Zelda-esque, except your attacks are kind of like Dracula shooting little balls of light or energy or something out of him. But it's very Zelda adventure style. The key is that you are finding keys. So it starts off in the crypt where Dracula's buried and he's awakened from the coffin. You need to defeat enemies and collect colored keys to unlock the colored doors, the respective colored doors in the room that you're in. And then you slowly, it's a lot of like backtracking and wandering through mazes to solve kind of what you're doing. Or to solve the puzzle of the crypt and escape. I've now made it outside of the crypt. The crypt is kind of like the tutorial. And I'm in the overworld. There's a light story happening throughout the whole thing, but now the idea is Dracula knows the only person who's ever defeated him is Van Helsing, and he's not sure why he's been brought back to life, so he's going to seek Van Helsing's assistance in finding out what the heck's going on. So you're wandering around the overworld, and much like the original Zelda, there are some enemies that are far too tough to take on. So your option is to run or avoid combat. It's neat because there is a health system, but you don't seem to take many hits, at least in that crypt area. You instead are losing your body, as it's listed, when you turn on different skills. So far I've unlocked the Wolf's Paw, and once you turn on the Wolf's Paw, you can hold the second button to run. But that's going to drain your life force by using it. So there's this kind of risk reward that you're doing with using powers or not using powers. It's super cool. It's a neat little project that, again, I think was first developed for the MSX's homebrew and then ported to ColecoVision, which it's a different world for me, but it's cool because you can see some really, polished games that that people spent a lot of time and effort into. And this has like some Bloody Tears-esque music at times. There's some definite influence. There's a whole speech by Dracula about he says something at the end like enough talk, something have at you, and it's very much pulled from that Symphony of the Night.
Is this loosely based on the 1991 movie of the same name,
Oh, I did not realize that.
where a school teacher teams up with a priest to stop a town being overrun by vampires?
I wonder. Wait, were you asking if it is or?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were telling me that it was. I was like, oh, I had no idea.
No.
Let's say yes, it is.
Same
As
universe.
Dracula teams up with Priest Helsing to figure this out.
Breaking news from the freecheese.com. We discover a long-lost relevance.
Yes. But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun ColecoVision game that I didn't know I'd ever be playing anything on the ColecoVision 2021. But here we are. We might also be playing a Sonic the Hedgehog card game here soon. Steam Forged Games, creators of tabletop games, including several licensed video game, board, and card games, have announced Sonic the Card Game. From their website, Sonic's the name and speed is the game. Literally, join the beloved Blue Blur in a competitive card racing game where you'll collect power-ups and rings to win. It's fast, family fun you'll race through again and again. Is this the new Loop Hero, Matt?
No, this is the Artifact Killer, dude.
Oh, this...
I'll play this, though. I'll play it.
You will?
I'll play it. Yeah, why not?
You're going to go buy physical cards at a store, and you're going to play this.
Oh, wait, no. Oh, no. I thought this was a game. Oh.
It is a game.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought it was coming to your friendly Steams.
Hey, maybe if the physical version does well enough, if you get out there
I'm
and
not
support
doing
it.
that. All right, I'm out. Sorry, not the Artifact
I
Killer.
wonder if, they haven't really said much, but I wonder if this is going to be a thing where you buy a set starter deck or whatever to get the core game, and then you can buy boosters to get tires and whatever and upgrade your vehicle. I don't know. The thing, my takeaway from this story is that we still have a lot more of 30th anniversary stuff for Sonic to uncover, which I'm super looking forward to, and I really hope that they are not delaying anything like everything else is kind of slipping. Mark, what's next for Sonic?
Like for this year?
Yeah.
Ooh. So what do we have so far? We have this card game. We have a new series in the works, like a TV series.
Yeah, there's a 30th anniversary IDW comic announced this week as well.
Right. And then we have the movie coming out later this year. No, next year.
Next year, yeah.
Next year. But it's starting. It started production. Man, what else? What haven't they done? That's a bigger question.
A video game.
Oh my god, you're right.
I know.
Oh, I didn't even think
we'll
about
see.
that.
I could do with some more like energy drinks or like shoes or something. Maybe a Uniqlo partnership.
Wait, hold on. Pause on the energy drinks. We're trying new stuff soon.
Right, I forgot you ordered that. You want to tell the kids at home what you bought?
Good old Zoa Energy by one Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
You bought into the hype. I'm very curious to see if it tastes good because you know I'm always down for a weird energy drink.
5 flavors. I got original and pineapple cocoa nut, but there was like berry, orange one, and I don't remember like lemon lime. I think was the 5th.
Nice. I wonder if it can dethrone the champion. I don't know. I doubt it.
I doubt it
We'll
too.
see. Coming in an E3 near you. Just this week, Yu Suzuki and Katsuhiro Harada sat down with Toshimichi Mori from Arc System Works. Harada, of course, from Tekken. Yu Suzuki of, many fame, but in this context, Virtua Fighter fame. They talked about the histories of their respective franchises, talking about Virtua Fighter, Tekken, Guilty Gear, and Blaze Blue. They talked about the possibility of creating Virtua Fighter 6. This comes by way of Sega Bits, and a lot of the interview stuff was translated by Et Gosukkyu on Twitter. Gosokkyu. on Twitter, who translates Japanese gaming news. So go check them out, and thank you for the translation. According to Yu Suzuki, if he ever created a Virtua Fighter 6, he would want to simplify and improve the controls and interfaces further. He prefers the players to be focused on tactics instead of mastering inputs. He thinks this would broaden the user base. I agree, because even though I can get into the nitty-gritty stuff, there's still parts where, like, I'm playing a lot of Darkstalkers now, and I haven't bothered to look up combos and stuff. I'm just trying to remember them, but trying to uncover them is often difficult. And then you can memorize them to a certain bit, but if you can also just kind of know different fighting styles, I think it's a unique approach that I think would set Virtua Fighter apart. It says that this also points out that other game studios are playing around with the idea now, and community is mixed on it. Riot Games is working on a fighting game with no inputs, but uses cooldown mechanics for powerful moves. Not sure about that one. Harada complained about how he gets consistent requests from fighting game fans on Twitter about a new Virtua Fighter because Sega never attends the fighting game events, so they all request via him. And he mentioned that a lot of fans are requesting Tekken Cross Virtua Fighter if that's what it takes to get a new Virtua Fighter. Now, we saw a little bit last year or beginning. There was something Virtua Fighter related, right? Wasn't there like a Sega was teasing something in that vein? But it seemed like because they were talking about the future of fighting esports or something.
I remember Virtua Fighter crossed over with Dead or Alive.
Definitely, yeah. There's that. There was something like I don't know. But do we need a new Virtua Fighter?
Sure. Why not? Like, I think a lot of fighting games now do a pretty good job of bringing in newcomers who might be afraid to dip their toes in, but I feel like this was always one that wasn't like that intimidating for some reason. I mean, like, until you actually get your ass handed to you by the computer because they can just be ridiculous. But I don't know. But it always seemed like it had like an easy approach to it once you see it for what it is.
Yeah, and I think it's another good example of how Sega did something in a Sega way cooler than what other companies had been doing. But I think I miss Sega having kind of a foot in the door of each genre, Now they've bought a lot of studios that just do that for them, but we don't have a good Sega fighting game in that respect. It's a long time since Sonic the Fighters. But no, I mean, the Virtua Fighter 5 was 360 era, and it's still super good. But yeah, it's been some time even since that one.
True.
That's going to bring us in tandem with our Fantasy Zone talk earlier. Fantasy Zone, of course, kind of a new take on Defender. Virtua Fighter, a new take on the fighting game genre. My question for you this week, both of you, which game would have been better if Sega had made it? Now, I feel like we did this question last year at some point, so I apologize if we're repeating. But it felt like after, especially with Fantasy Zone being a great evolution of Defender, I feel like Sega always has that something special, or at least they did, about them.
I get conflicted because there's a lot of games that there's some that I can imagine, like, yeah, of course this would be better, but for some reason, because they are the way that they are, whether they're bad or whatever, still kind of makes them unique in a way to me. But that being said, I have no clue why this first comes to mind, but I'd be really interested to see Sega's take on The Sims.
Oh, interesting.
I think I don't know, like, just adding that flair to that kind of game, and maybe they would get some things. I feel like they'd have a better style to it, and maybe bring in some ideas that people have been asking for since the beginning. And I feel like they just would have maybe it's me. I don't know. It's me putting too much faith into it, but I feel like they just would have had more common sense with it. Like, oh yeah, obviously we're gonna do this. This makes sense to do this. Yes, let's make furniture diagonal like from the get go.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But just adding the Sega weirdness to it, I think there could be something there.
Having
just wear a Sonic costume the whole time.
That plus like weird dialogue options that would certainly like, you know what I mean? Like there'd definitely be like weird little interactions that you wouldn't. I think that would be the hyper attention to the characters themselves and how they would change.
Yeah.
Based on, you know what I mean? Like right now you already have some of that depending on what kind of house you put them in or what things you add in there. But yeah, I think it would also be great if your goal in The Sims was just to get a Sega Dreamcast. That's the thing you're working towards. Like you beat the game once you get one, you can set it up in the home.
Go to a Sega themed theme park.
Oh my god, dude. Now I want to do a Roller Coaster Tycoon run with just Sega themed stuff. Matt, which game would have been better if Sega had made it?
All right, so I'm gonna give you a good answer and a bad answer. Bad answer.
Yeah, I like this.
The Quiet Man.
That's your bad answer or your good answer?
Oh, that's my bad answer. That's the good and obvious answer is Madden, because NFL 2K is still one of the greatest. Yeah. But think about it, The Quiet Man. But like, more like Shenmue slow. But when you needed that Yakuza fighting,
yeah, okay,
build the story. The Quiet Man has to monitor on his watch what time of day he's got to be where he needs to be. Because if you miss it by a minute, you're no good. I don't know.
That's a Shenmue thing.
Oh yeah. You gotta look at the watch. You gotta be a place that's specific.
Have a watch mechanic?
No, not that I'm aware of. But they just make it ridiculous and over the top with the Yakuza flair. I think the Quiet Man 2 needs to happen. That's what I'm trying to get at here the last couple of weeks.
I think that that's a good point in that Sega does make everything better, which is really the point of this, because Sega would make every game better in a way. When I was putting together this week's outline, my answer to this question is Bomberman. And the weird thing is Bomberman's already perfect, but I feel like Sega could do something just an extra bit weird. But I think Bomberman is also a great example of like a Sega game that wasn't made by Sega. Maybe that's a question for next week. Which games by other companies feel like they were made from Sega? Actually, maybe that will be next week's question, because Balan Wonderworld comes out next week. So,
boy,
listeners at home, if you've got an answer, send us an email. But here's the one, man. It's called Pokemon. Can you imagine, had Sega made Pokemon, what it would feel like, what the monsters would look like, I think Pokemon's already filled with a lot of like we saw in that anniversary video a couple weeks ago, the stuff where that series has pushed a cooperation between video games and technology. I think Sega would have done that so weird. Like, can you imagine if the Game Gear had a successor that had a Pokemon game on it, or Pokemon, right? Like, what that would have been like and what that would have worked. Oh my gosh.
I was just thinking, like we probably would have had a Game Gear Advance by this point.
Yeah.
But I think the closest that we'll ever get to with that currently is the Child Garden.
Yes, that was certainly an answer to that. Or I'm sorry, please use it by its proper correct term, Mark. The Tim's area, or whatever the heck.
Oh, yeah, my bad.
I know. No, but I mean, think about how different Sega would have been had they had Pokemon on the Game Gear.
They would still be making systems
easily, because you would have had the Game Gear spin-off on the, like, you would have had the Game Gear card game on the Saturn, and then the Dreamcast would have had like a 3D fighter all with the Pokemon. It would have had the tie-in. The VMU would have been a Pokemon collectible game, like the Pokewalker thing. They probably would have integrated, like, it could have changed the history of Sega. You could have collected a little Opa-Opa to carry around as well. Like that, you could do some wild stuff with a Sega developed Pokemon game.
Or actually, no. I think closest we have now is the one class in Phantasy Star Online 2. where you actually do raise a monster and they fight for you and all that. But it's only like 5 creatures.
So I have a thing on my phone where I type in a list of games that I'm in between playing and then make the robot make a choice for me. And I was very close to playing Phantasy Star again last night.
Like OG?
No, online 2. Thought about it. I think I'm just going to wait for New Genesis at this point.
Yeah.
Take it there. We'll see.
Sorry, I got distracted. I was going to just hop in there and say, well, you have seen the Sega Pokemon in Yakuza Like a Dragon with the Sujimon, a little side quest there. Right. And then I got distracted because I saw a great image of the Yakuza characters as Pichus and Pikachus that I, of course, have now sent to you.
I was going to say, yeah, I need that.
But yeah, Sega's already kind of done Pokemon. I'm sorry, I'm like 10 minutes late here, I think, on that on that call out.
Yakuza.
Oh, I hate it. That's so good. Oh, man. That's it for us this week. Next week, I want to know, listeners at home, which game feels like it was made by Sega but was not. And we're going to keep on kicking it with our week-to-week celebration of video games here at thefreecheese.com. Next week, turns out I'm playing Monster Hunter Rise, so look forward to that for the podcast. I got so hyped about Monster Hunter that I pre-ordered that game on the eShop. And like all good pre-orders that I've done on the eShop, a week before I get an email that says, hey, we're going to charge you next week. The game's out in 2 weeks. You still cool with that? And I say, no, and I cancel it. Didn't get that reminder email that I was going to get charged yesterday, or rather Friday for the listeners. And I'm sitting there. I think the workday's almost over, and I get a credit card notification on my phone that I just dropped 63 hot bones on Nintendo.com. And I'm like, on what? Open my email. Thank you for your purchase. I'm like, you. So
you can't
I'm playing
refund
Monster
it?
Hunter Rise. Huh?
You can't refund it before it's released?
I think that's why they give you so many email warnings, which they didn't this time. And I checked my trash. I didn't check my trash. Maybe I did get it and deleted it, but I did not get it. It didn't get filtered to spam. I don't know.
Damn.
But it's fine, dude. I could use some Monster Hunter. I like I said earlier when we were talking about the Avengers, like I need that thing to get lost in. So why not? I had enough fun with World last year, and I texted our good friend of the show, Akko, about it and said, looks like I'll be playing this. So if you're going to be jumping in, he was like, oh yeah, dude, I put 400 hours into World in a matter of a month, so I'm ready.
I thought you were about to say you put 400 hours into the demo. I was like...
He put a significant amount of time into the demo as well. Yeah, but... Yeah, and I when I was on Steam playing Loop Hero, I saw his profile, and 443 hours, man. He's there. He's kicking it.
Damn.
Anybody else jumping into Monster Hunter this week, or you guys got other plans?
I never jumped into the hype and accidentally pre-ordered it, so I'm out. I will be playing some Doom, but the Mick Gordon-less version.
Ooh.
Good old... Right. I got the itch. I wanted to play it this week. It never happened, but I'm going to hop into that Doom Eternal DLC. The Ancient Gods, I believe it's called. Part 2 just came out, but I got to roll through Part 1. And I have a steep learning curve to get back into the twitchiness of that game. So, yeah.
Because the DLC's meant to be a lot harder, too, right?
Yeah, I heard that it, as that main campaign ramped up, I heard that the DLC takes place right where it left off at in that campaign difficulty. So, here we go.
Fun. Yeah. I'm very curious to hear how that one goes, because I've been feeling the itch as well. That Game Pass stuff, all the Bethesda stuff dropping there. Now I've got Doom Eternal on the Xbox, and I'm like, maybe I'll play through it again. Maybe I'll get the hype, and maybe I'll play through Ancient Gods. I don't know. Mark, more Avengers in your future?
More than likely.
Anything else lining up on the dock?
You know, I don't know. It's always random, and like I never know when it'll happen. It just I think this is the first time like I actually don't have anything else predetermined except for that. Which is strange.
No, that's good. That's a good. Then you can let the world, discover you. You can discover us on Twitter. The Free Cheese is at Some Free Cheese. Matt is at MattyIce131. Mark is at Og_mental. The Free Cheese has an email address, podcast@thefreecheese.com. Let us know which game did Sega make, but they didn't. Or ask us a question. Ask us anything. We'll read it on the air next week when we're back for 394. That's it for us. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. Have a great week. Bye.